Welcome kapatid to our series on how to answer law school and bar problems. Today we are taking a look at a problem from the 2022 bar exam. I'll be showing you precisely how to answer a problem, how to be responsive to a problem, and how you can also arrive at an elegant and precise answer all on your own. All of this and more coming right up. Hi, my name is Lex and welcome to Lex in Motion. In this channel, I'll be helping you build your competence, confidence, and capability in law school. Start today by hitting the subscribe button below. New episodes are posted every Friday. Without further ado, let us now begin with a problem from the 2022 bar examination. I'll be showing it on your screen right now. The first step in answering every problem is to take a deep breath. Find a way to calm yourself down. Don't look at the problem, don't look at your screen. Ipikit mo ang iyong mga mata kapatid at huminga ka lang muna ng malalim. The second step is to take another deep breath. As you exhale, know and understand that however way you're going to answer this next problem really is not going to matter. Tuldok lang ito kapatid. It is a dot, a speck, minutiae in the great grand story of your law school journey. And as you exhale, envision yourself passing your exam, passing the bar exam, taking the oath and what you'll be wearing on your roll signing. Now, you are ready to look at the problem. The third step is to read the last sentence, then the second to the last sentence, and then the two sentences together. If what you see at the end of the problem are phrases like explain briefly or discuss fully, feel free to include these with the last sentence. We do this, kapatid, in order for us to zero in on the problem. We can only be responsive if we know exactly what is being asked. We skip ahead to the last sentence because this is where the question is usually found. Remember, we can only be responsive if we know exactly what is being asked. Let's look at the last sentence of the problem. Is Randy's claim of self-defense tenable? Explain briefly. Let's read the second to the last sentence of the problem for more clues. During the trial, Randy claimed self-defense. These two sentences together should automatically trigger in your head the concept of self-defense. Nabasa mo ito kapatid sa iyong criminal law 1, specifically sa Article 11 ng Revised Penal Code. The fourth step is for us to identify what is being asked in this problem. This is your guiding star. Ito at ito lang talaga ang maaari nating balikan kung sakaling tayo ay nalunod na sa mga facts at arguments na present ng examiner. When in doubt, always go back to what is being asked in the problem. So, what is being asked in this problem? Here we are being asked whether or not Randy's claim of self-defense is tenable. Then the examiner is telling us to explain this briefly. The next step is for us to identify the rule, concept, provision, or doctrine that is being asked in the problem. The master key to being hyper-responsive is by identifying the exact rule, provision, concept, or doctrine upon which the examiner has built the problem. If we can reverse engineer how the problem was drafted in the first place, then it gives us the fighting chance to give the precise answer that the examiner is looking for. Dito sa problem na ito kapatid, ano kaya ang sinusubukan sa atin ng ating examiner? What is the rule, concept, provision, or doctrine that is being tested in this problem? If what is being tested is still unclear to you based only on the last two sentences, then feel free to come back to this after the next step. Here, what is being tested is our understanding of the concept of self-defense. Katulad ng aking nabanggit, ito ay sa ilalim ng Article 11, ang unang-una sa mga justifying circumstances. Ito ay bahagi ng GEMAA. Ang justifying, exempting, mitigating, aggravating, and alternative circumstances ay ang mga situations o conditions na maaaring magpabago sa criminal liability ng ating akusado. Ang 5 topics na ito ang karaniwang sumasakop sa 40 to 50% ng iyong kailangang matutunan sa criminal law 1. These are so important that if you learn them well, buhay na buhay ka na sa midterms ninyo o kahit pa hanggang bungad ng finals nyo. Sana maliwanag pa, kapatid. The next step now, kapatid, is for us to read the problem from start to finish. We will look for bits and pieces, anything really, that will help us answer the question. We will go over the problem line by line and look for clues that might help us give to the examiner the answer he or she wants. If you see an actor, mark it. If you see the actor's action, mark it. If you think something might be relevant, then mark it. All others we can safely ignore as noise. I hope I'm still making sense so far. So let's begin reading the problem from start to finish. Police Officer John ran after Randy, who had just killed Willy in John's presence. John fired at Randy in an attempt to stop him in his tracks. In response, Randy fired back at John, hitting him. John was seriously wounded but survived due to timely medical assistance. Randy was then charged with frustrated homicide. During the trial, Randy claimed self-defense. Relevant sa akin dito si Police Officer John. He is an actor and his action was to run after Randy, another actor, whose criminal liability we are being asked to determine. Hinahabol ngayon ni John si Randy dahil nasaksihan ni John na pinatay ni Randy si Willy. John made a second action in this problem and that is to shoot at Randy. Sabi ng examiner, fired at Randy in an attempt to stop him. Gumanti ngayon itong si Randy at tinamaan niya si police officer. In the next sentence, the examiner narrates that John was seriously wounded but survived due to timely medical assistance. This sentence is not relevant to me because the question here is whether or not Randy can validly claim self-defense. Next, the examiner tells us that Randy was eventually arrested and charged with frustrated homicide. During the trial, Randy claimed self-defense. So, after marking our paragraph, it should look like this. In the next paragraph of the problem, the examiner gives us the question, is Randy's claim of self-defense tenable? Explain briefly. Knowing what you now know about the problem, please pause this video and type up your answers in the comment section. This is the only way for me to gauge your answers and I will try to respond as best as I can. Libre dito ang magkamali, kapatid. Hindi mo ito ikakabagsak dahil hindi mo ako professor at hindi rin kita estudyante. Huwag kang matatakot na magkakamali dito, kapatid, kung ikakatama mo naman sa iyong quiz at midterms o maging iyong bar exam. This problem is a good use of red herrings. Red herrings are bits and pieces that examiners and professors throw into a problem for us to follow and pursue. They are clues which seem very important but whose sole purpose is to detract, divert, or mislead us away from the very question of the problem. Red herrings are laid down before us by our examiners primarily to waste our time through overthinking. They are placed before us so we can chase them to their often irrelevant or illogical conclusions. Red herrings are decoys for us to address, evaluate, and in the worst cases, address and attack. Don't be fooled, kapatid. Not everything in a problem is going to be relevant to your answer. In this problem, the red herring can be found in the charge of frustrated homicide. If you have taken criminal law 2 or you are taking criminal law review, maaaring mabitag ka dito kapatid into anchoring your answer on the propriety of frustrated homicide. Hindi ito ang itinatanong kapatid. Ang issue dito sa problem na ito ay ang claim ng self-defense. Now let's talk about self-defense. Article 11 of the Revised Penal Code provides that the elements of self-defense are A. Unlawful aggression, B. Reasonable necessity of the means employed to prevent or repel it, C. Lack of sufficient provocation on the part of the person defending himself. Unlawful aggression is the most important among all of these elements. In Knock-Knock versus People, the Supreme Court teaches us that there can be no self-defense, complete or incomplete, without the presence of unlawful aggression. So, we begin our suggested answer with no, Randy's claim of self-defense is untenable because there was no unlawful aggression. As I've mentioned in our digital workbook 8, 101 practice problems for lost law students and bar takers, every answer you write must be treated as if it were a miniature pleading. Always begin by stating your short answer to the problem and then your position. Make it easy for the examiner to grade your work. Sinimulan natin ito sa no kapatid dahil ito ay sagot sa tanong ng examiner whether or not Randy's claim of self-defense is tenable. Ginamit din natin ang mga mismong salita na ginamit ng examiner. Karamihan ng mga estudyante ay tatapusin ang kanilang mga sagot sa no, the claim of self-defense is not tenable, period. That would be correct. But you would not be looking for the convenience of the examiner or your professor. Kung meron kang preview, makikita na agad ng professor na tama ka. At mas gaganahan lang siyang pagtiyagaan ang sulat mong kalkal chicken. Next, we need to write our legal basis. The law does not require that you cite the entire provision of the law. All that matters is you write the most relevant portions of the law. Article 11 of the Revised Penal Code provides that unlawful aggression is the first and foremost element of self-defense. There can be no self-defense, complete or incomplete, without the presence of unlawful aggression. Notice kapatid that I have used the precise language of the law. The law demands precision in everything we do. However, I have taken the liberty of not writing the entirety of the provision. Doon lang tayo sa relevant, mahalaga at magagamit natin sa susunod na paragraph. Our next line is our most important paragraph, our arguments. This is where you have to argue. Ilaban mo yan kapatid. You cannot parrot back to the examiner the facts that he or she has written down. Wala siyang paki dito kapatid dahil siya ang nagsulat ng problem. Malamang sa malamang ay alam din naman niya ang kwento nito. In this next line, we have to tell the examiner why we have taken this position and why we have chosen this legal basis. We have to give back to the examiner what he or she needs. It's our chance to say, "Ha, I see what you did there." We do this by arguing why we are correct. In effect, we need to sell to the examiner why we are correct. You can land at the correct answer kapatid, pero kung hindi mo naman ito maibebenta, kung hindi mo naman makukumbinsi ang examiner na tama ka, ay wala ka na rin pinagkaiba sa ilang libong sagot na dadaan lang sa kanyang mga mata. We stand out by first being hyper-responsive to the problem, and second, through our eloquence. This begins by laying down the strongest argument. What is our strongest argument here? The strongest argument here is that there is no unlawful aggression. There is aggression here, kapatid, walang duda. Aba, hindi pa ba aggression ang papaputukan ka ng baril? However, the aggression here is lawful. The aggression in this problem is coming from a police officer who has witnessed Randy commit a violent crime. This police officer saw Randy kill Willy. He was in a position to effect a warrantless arrest. The law further authorizes him to exert such amount of force as is necessary to subdue the person sought to be arrested. Necessary force lang. Bawal ang sobra. Now, how do we say all of this in the simplest, most concise manner possible? In this problem, Randy's claim of self-defense is incorrect because there was no unlawful aggression. The aggression against Randy was lawful because he was being apprehended for a crime. Notice kapatid that we began our suggested answer with in this problem. Masakit sa mata ang mabasa ang in the case at bar dahil wala naman tayo sa korte at ito ay isang academic exercise. Hindi mo yun ikinakatalino kapatid. Pwedeng-pwede na rin kami sa here, dahil madali lang itong dot-dotin sa iyong keyboard. I hope I'm still making sense so far. Pansinin mo rin kapatid na ang ating sagot ay hindi pag-uulit lamang ng mga facts. Marami kasing estudyante ang sasagot ng here, police officer John shot at Randy. Kapag ganun, inuulit mo lang ang problem. Walang pakialam ang examiner o professor mo sa kwento dahil siya mismo naman ang umimbento nito. Of course, he or she knows exactly what happened in the problem. If you do this, you are tendering a factual or facts-based answer. Next, you need to phrase your answer in the form of an argument. You are in law school because you are hoping that someday, one day, you will be a lawyer. At a certain point in your life, kapatid, you will be arguing for a living. Hindi ko naman sinasabi na maging palaaway ka, kapatid. Arguing means convincing your professor, your examiner, or the courts on the merits of your position. Arguing means selling your position and convincing your professor of the correctness of your answer. In your third paragraph, you need to argue. Hindi ka pwedeng umulit lang ng facts. Wala ka nang magiging kaibahan sa ilang libong booklet o answer sheet na dadaan lang sa mata ng mga examiner. Dapat kapag binasa ng professor mo ang sagot mo, masasabi niya na magiging abogada ang batang are. Finally, we have the conclusion. This is the part where most law students are awfully confused. Maraming mga hindi na lang nagsusulat ng kanilang mga conclusion dahil ayaw lang nilang ulitin ang sinabi nila sa bungad ng kanilang mga sagot. A good conclusion should wrap up your entire position, legal basis, and your arguments. It should function like a mic drop. Boom! Pew, pew, pew! Tipong pag nag-conclude ka na kapatid ay tapos na ang usapan. Uwian na dahil may nanalo na. If you are unsure of what to do, focus on the effects of your answer. With our conclusion, the suggested answer should look like this. No, Randy's claim of self-defense is untenable because there was no unlawful aggression. Article 11 of the Revised Penal Code provides that unlawful aggression is the first and foremost element of self-defense. There can be no self-defense, complete or incomplete, without the presence of unlawful aggression. In this problem, Randy's claim of self-defense is incorrect because there was no unlawful aggression. The aggression against Randy was lawful because he was being apprehended for a crime. For these reasons, Randy may be convicted with frustrated homicide. The worst mistake you can make in a conclusion is to simply repeat your opening statement. This would be a waste of your examiners or professors' precious time and attention. Marami ring hindi na lang nagsusulat ng conclusion dahil ayaw na lang nilang umulit lang ng first sentence. When you don't know what to write, focus on the fruits, effects, and results. Assuming that your answer is correct, ano kaya ngayon? Dito sa ating problem, sakaling hindi umubra ang self-defense claim ni Randy, posible ba na ang effect nito ay makukulong si Randy? Pwede. Pwede rin kaya nating sabihin na mali si Randy? Pwede. Posible din kayang guilty si Randy sa frustrated homicide. All of these are valid conclusions, but which among them is the most correct, most appropriate, and most direct? Salamat kapatid at sinamahan mo ako sa ilang minuto na tayo ay nagsagot ng isang bar exam problem. I will be doing my best to respond to all of your answers in the comments and give you timely feedback. Sana at kahit papano ay may natutunan ka. The means and methods I've discussed here are all contained in our digital workbook 8, 101 practice problems for lost law students and bar takers. Here you will be tasked with answering about 105 bar problems spread out in various bar subjects. All of the answers here are broken down, explained, and discussed in much greater detail than what we have done here. You will also learn about how examiners draft their problems, where questions come from, and how to predict with a reasonable degree of accuracy the problems that might come out in your midterm and final exams. In this workbook, I've also discussed the common tactics that professors use to confuse law students and baristas. At ano ang pwedeng pangontra sa mga tactics nila? Narito rin ang mga typical na mali ng mga law students sa kanilang mga sagot at kung paano natin ito gagamutin. Follow along the journey as we help you take your answers from miserable to elegante. Grab your copy of 8, 101 practice problems for lost law students and bar takers through the links in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. Like and share this video for Good Law School Carmind. I will see you next Friday.